Hello and Guru Scott. On this video, I'm going to be replacing a Price Pfister kitchen faucet with a brand new Delta 470 DST, and that's a single handle pull-out type spray kitchen faucet. And these are some of the items I'm going to be using: some protective gloves, some safety glasses, and then I'm going to actually have to replace the hot water shutoff valve. I already replaced the cold water one. And of course you'll need various wrenches, and you'll need some of this plumber's pipe thread sealant. And you might want to use silicone seal when you put the new fixture in, or you may not. They don't necessarily recommend it, but I sort of prefer it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tear out the old fixture. I'll show you that here in a second. This is the old Price Pfister fixture, and the problem is in order to rebuild it, which I was going to do, you have to be able to take the handle off, which after a lot of effort I was able to do. But I wanted to replace the cartridge inside, and to get that done you have to remove this piece here. I put a strap wrench on it, tried to get it off, but after many years of service, this component is actually frozen onto the threads, and I ended up actually twisting the whole fixture. So I decided I'll just go ahead and replace it with a brand new one. So I'm going to get underneath and take out the nuts that secure this and this, and take out, loosen and remove all the hoses that attach it to the shutoff valves. But also, before I do that, I'm going to shut off the main water to the house and turn it on in several faucets in the house so there's no drippage while I'm working. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm going to go underneath and replace the hot water shutoff first. I've already done the cold water. At this point, I'm working under the sink, and right behind the trap assembly here, all the way against the wall, is where the hot water shutoff valve is. And you know it's the hot water because it has a branch for the dishwasher and one for the faucet. So I'm going to put a backing wrench on that, take a big crescent wrench and go ahead and loosen the nut that secures the ferrule, pull the whole assembly off, and then I'll reinstall a new one. I'll show you a bit about that here in a second. So here's the collection of all the parts I pulled out. Looks like Frankenstein. I'm going to take all these, and if I can, I'll recycle the metals, and the other components I'll just throw into the rubbish bin. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace the three-way water valve, or shutoff valve, with a brand new one. And to do that, I'm going to, if I can, use the original ferrule and nut that went with the original piece here, because they're basically essentially welded on. So what I'll do is take some Scotch-Brite, clean it up, take a look at it, see if I can reuse those. You can usually do that as long as you use some plumber's sealant. So I'm going to do that. I could have saved this wonderful faucet if they had have used Krytox on the threads here. And like if they replaced the cartridge every 3 or 4 years and put some Krytox on it, it wouldn't have gotten frozen on there. But this probably hasn't been, it's probably been replaced 18 or 20 years ago, and it probably never has been serviced. And so basically it's sort of junk at this point. And so I'll get the part underneath prepared, and I'll show you that next. I have the entire sink area fully cleaned up now. I used some Goof Off, some 91% IPA. I didn't use any plumber sanding cloth, but I did use some Scotch-Brite to clean up where I'm going to install this to the pipe. So I took out the ferrule, and I took off the nut, the backing nut. And now I'm going to pack this with some pipe thread sealant just on the threads, and I'm going to install this, and I'll show you what that looks like after I'm finished. I have the new shutoff valves installed, and I turned the water back on to the house. And now I'm just going to wait and see if they leak. And while I do that, I will prepare the new faucet for installation. So here's the new Delta faucet we're going to install and all the parts. One thing I wanted to show was that this comes with the hoses already attached, and they're red and blue for hot and cold. And they have the backing nuts and ferrules and everything already attached So it makes the installation really simple. So I'm going to get everything out of the box and get it all set up, and then we'll see what we're going to do next. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this faucet base plate in, and it says if you want to, you can silicone seal it in here, and then you put it in, and it has a direction to it. It has arrows pointing to the front, which is towards you, and then you're going to put this component here on it, and then you're going to put the entire faucet in, and from underneath you're going to put this washer and this locking ring on. And once you've hand tightened it and this is all straight, you're going to take a Phillips screwdriver and snug these up. You just need to snug them so that it won't back off. And we're going to get to that point and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've got the center nut put on from underneath and the 2 Phillips screws tightened up. Now I'm going to go underneath and install these 2. And this is for the deck mount style, which is this. You can also leave this whole piece off if you only have a single hole here. That's called a center mount style. This particular faucet is universal. It works for both applications. So again, this is deck mount, and then center mount would just be using these components here, and the instructions tell you how to make that adjustment. So I'm going to install these and we'll come back. Now we're ready to install the faucet neck, the piece that pulls out. So to do it, you actually push this hose from this side down. It's a hose that comes with the kit, and you'll see the threaded end and everything sticking up. And I like to put a little bit of Krytox O-ring grease on it. So I put some Krytox on it here and on the threads so that as it becomes calcified, I won't have trouble getting it off at a future date. So I'm going to install that, and then from the other side you're going to install this weight and then attach it the other end of the hose. You'll see where it goes to the main body of the faucet, and this weight allows the system to move up and down as you pull this hose in and out, so that it hopefully won't get caught on anything. And you need to make sure that it's free of obstructions underneath. So we're gonna get that done, and then we'll move on to the next item. I did want to make mention that when you connect the hose underneath for the pull-out portion, there's this clip, plastic clip that has to go over to hold it together. So I'm gonna put some O-ring grease on it, stick it together, and then clip it, and that'll take care of that part. Everything's now connected, and I have tested it to make sure this pulls out freely, and it does. I also checked to make sure that hot is indeed hot when you push it to the hot side and cold is cold, and made sure everything worked properly. And I'm going to show you underneath how it ended up looking with the final connections. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say this was as easy as could be. So if 1 is super easy, this is a 1 or a 2. Something anybody could do with just a few basic hand tools and some basic knowledge. And that's excluding replacing the shutoff valve. That's a little more difficult. That's something more along the scale of an 8 or a 9. So I'm gonna slip underneath with the camera and show you what it looks like. So hang on. So this is the final underneath way it came out, and right now I'm gonna leave the cabinet doors open and check for leaks, but so far it's been about 45 minutes and don't see a single drop, and the hose comes down and hangs here with the weight, and I made sure it was clear of everything in its way. Again, like I said, very easy installation. That's all there is to this video, so thanks for watching. Tschüss.